In Hollywood, the lights never stop shining. The red carpets, the paparazzi, the standing ovations, it all looks like a dream. But just beyond the glamour, there's a shadow that stretches far and wide. It's not just a few stars who fall from grace, it's a pattern, a silent epidemic wrapped in designer suits and movie contracts. Some of the most iconic names in entertainment, legends whose faces lit up the silver screen, were also battling a much darker force behind the scenes: addiction. And for many, it wasn't just a personal struggle. It was a public unraveling. These aren't just stories of drinking too much at parties. These are stories of careers destroyed, lives cut short, and legacies forever stained by the bottle. So buckle up, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you see Hollywood forever. Number 10. Oliver Reed. Oliver Reed wasn't just an actor. He was a force of nature. With icy blue eyes and the kind of on-screen presence that demanded attention, he built a legacy playing hard-edged villains and larger-than-life characters. But behind that magnetic charm was a man who couldn't escape the grip of alcohol. His drinking wasn't just a personal habit, it became part of his legend. Reed once got into a bar fight so vicious, he needed 63 stitches on his face after being attacked with broken bottles. Those scars became part of his look. His role in Gladiator, his final film, was supposed to be his redemption. Ridley Scott only agreed to cast him under one condition: no drinking during filming. But Reed couldn't stay away. In Malta, during a break from shooting, he downed 8 pints of beer, 3 bottles of rum, and multiple shots of whiskey in a single sitting while drinking with Royal Navy sailors. That night, his heart gave out. Just like that, he was gone, leaving behind one final performance and a legacy soaked in booze and chaos. He once said his biggest regret was not drinking every pub dry. In the end, he died exactly how he lived: loud, wild, and unapologetic. Number 9. Richard Burton. Richard Burton had a voice like thunder and a screen presence that could rival anyone in Hollywood. He was royalty among actors, hailed as the next Olivier, loved by millions, and famously locked in a turbulent love affair with Elizabeth Taylor. But behind the awards and the applause was a man spiraling from a lifetime of self-destruction. He took his first drink at 12. By adulthood, 3 bottles of vodka a day wasn't unusual, it was routine. On set, he was often too unsteady to stand, sometimes filming entire scenes from a chair just to stay upright. Off-screen, he lived like a man with nothing to lose. During one drunken episode, he reportedly slammed back 21 tequila shots and leapt into shark-infested waters on a dare. Doctors warned him for years that his drinking would kill him. They were right. By the 1980s, his spine was literally crystallizing from alcohol damage. His kidneys were swollen. His body was giving out, but he kept going. In 1984, at just 58 years old, Richard Burton died from a cerebral hemorrhage. His brilliance never faded, but the addiction made sure it burned out far too soon. Number 8. Barbara Payton. Barbara Payton had it all: beauty, fame, and a ticket to Hollywood stardom. In the early 1950s, she was the kind of woman directors chased and leading men bragged about. She starred opposite legends like James Cagney and Gary Cooper, and for a while, it looked like nothing could stop her. But fame came fast, and so did the fall. Her personal life was a storm of violent affairs, bar fights, and impulsive decisions. As her career slipped through her fingers, she clung to alcohol like it was the only thing she could count on. The glamorous blonde of the silver screen slowly disappeared, replaced by public intoxication arrests, bad checks, and nights spent sleeping on Sunset Boulevard in a coat and bathing suit. At her lowest, she turned to prostitution to survive. She lost custody of her son. She lost her home. And eventually, she lost herself. By the time she was 39, her liver had failed, her heart gave out, and she was found dead in a cheap apartment, unrecognizable from the woman who once captivated the world. Barbara Payton didn't just fall from grace, she plummeted. Number 7. John Barrymore. John Barrymore wasn't just a movie star, he was Hollywood royalty. Born into the legendary Barrymore acting dynasty, he was celebrated for his Shakespearean roles and powerful screen presence. But while he played tortured, boozy characters on film, he was quietly becoming one in real life. His drinking spiraled into obsession. It reached a point where he once tried to drink his wife's perfume after running out of booze. His memory began to erode from the inside out, forcing directors to feed him lines from cue cards just to get through scenes. Once hailed as a master of his craft, he became a ghost of his former self. But the most infamous part of Barrymore's story didn't happen during his life, it happened just after. Legend has it that after he died in 1942, his drinking buddies, Humphrey Bogart, John Huston, and David Niven, borrowed his corpse and placed it upright in a chair inside Errol Flynn's home, drink in hand. When Flynn came home and flipped on the lights, he was greeted by the lifeless body of his old friend, staring back at him. Whether it's true or not, it's the kind of tale only someone like Barrymore could inspire. A man who blurred the line between performance and reality, right up until the very end. Number 6. Jan-Michael Vincent. Jan-Michael Vincent looked like he was born to be famous. With his sharp jawline, piercing stare, and effortless swagger, he was Hollywood's next big thing. By the early 80s, he had it all: money, fame, and the lead role in Airwolf, one of the hottest shows on TV. At his peak, he was the highest-paid actor on television. But behind the scenes, Vincent was imploding. His addictions to alcohol and cocaine weren't just rumors, they were visible, and they were dangerous. He wrecked cars, suffered brutal injuries, and spiraled into violent behavior. He broke his back in one crash, lost a leg in another. His face aged a decade in just a few years. Production delays on Airwolf became constant as he showed up drunk or not at all, forcing the show's early cancellation. He had once been called the Brad Pitt of his era. Now, he was showing up in straight-to-DVD films no one watched. In his later years, he looked unrecognizable, scarred, bloated, and worn down by decades of abuse. In 2019, his heart finally gave out. Jan-Michael Vincent didn't just fade away, he shattered. Number 5. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn was the original bad boy of Hollywood. With his sword in one hand and a drink in the other, he defined the golden age of cinema: charming, daring, and completely unfiltered. On screen, he was the hero in Robin Hood and Captain Blood. Off-screen, he lived like a man with no rules. His Malibu mansion, co-owned with actor David Niven, was so notorious for booze-fueled parties they nicknamed it Cirrhosis by the Sea. And that was no exaggeration. Flynn drank with Fidel Castro in Cuba, kept a toy panda as a bar companion, and once bet $500 he could seduce his co-star on set, mid-shoot. He collapsed in elevators, stumbled onto sets half-drunk, and gambled his health away with every glass. A doctor once warned him that his heart and lungs were severely damaged, but Flynn just laughed it off and kept pouring. By the time he died at 50, he was a bloated shadow of the matinee idol he once was. His liver was shot, his body wrecked, but his legend? Untouchable. Errol Flynn didn't care about the rules. He just wanted to live fast, drink harder, and never look back. Number 4. Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart wasn't just a star. He was the blueprint. With films like Casablanca, The Maltese Falcon, and The African Queen, he carved his name into Hollywood history. But while he played cool, collected characters on screen, the man behind the camera was unraveling. Friends said he was a great guy. Until around 11:30 p.m., that's when the drinks turned him into someone else. Angry, unpredictable, even violent. His legendary charm had a dark flip side. On set, he'd show up hungover or still drunk, once refusing to act and riding a bicycle around the Warner Brothers lot in his pajamas. He demanded martinis delivered to his trailer just to function. Off-set, the stories got even messier, like the time he drunkenly walked out of a restaurant with their safe, then abandoned it in the middle of Beverly Hills. Or when he brought a stuffed panda to an elite club and physically assaulted women who tried to take it from him. As the years dragged on, the bottle wore him down. Smoking and drinking every day caught up to him fast. In 1956, cancer hit hard, and even in his final days, Bogart was rarely seen without a glass of sherry in his hand. He was Hollywood royalty to the end, but he paid the price for living like one. Number 3. Peter O'Toole. Peter O'Toole was a masterclass in contradiction. Brilliant, reckless, magnetic, and deeply self-destructive. With 8 Oscar nominations and a performance in Lawrence of Arabia that remains one of the greatest ever captured on film, he was undeniably one of the best to ever do it. But off-camera, O'Toole was a different kind of epic. He didn't just drink, he lived inside the bottle. During the filming of Beckett, he was so intoxicated, he once brought a date to a theater, only to realize halfway through that he was the lead actor in the play they were watching. He told stories of waking up in different countries after blacking out, drinking in a pub in Paris and coming to in Corsica. 4 years, it was almost a joke. Until it wasn't. His health collapsed from years of abuse, and when doctors warned him about his failing liver and stomach lining, he finally quit. But by then, the damage was permanent. His once handsome face had become gaunt, weathered by decades of alcohol and cigarettes. When he died in 2013 at the age of 81, It was hard not to wonder what might have been if Peter O'Toole had spent more time on stage and less time chasing the next round. Number 2. W.C. Fields. W.C. Fields made the world laugh. His cranky charm, nasal voice, and razor-sharp timing turned him into one of America's most beloved comedians. But beneath the wisecracks and stage routines was a man slowly unraveling from the inside out. Fields didn't just drink often, he drank constantly. Some say he went through over 2 quarts of gin a day, hiding it in water bottles on set, slipping it into coffee mugs, doing whatever it took to stay buzzed. And when the withdrawals kicked in, it wasn't pretty. He suffered from delirium tremens so severe he could barely function during filming. Eventually, Paramount dropped him, and most assumed his career was over. But in a strange twist, radio became his second act. Sparring with a ventriloquist dummy on the Chase and Sanborn Hour gave Fields a lifeline, one he clung to while recovering behind the scenes. He made a small comeback in films, but the years had taken their toll. In the final stretch of his life, he was holed up in a sanatorium in Pasadena, a shell of the firecracker he used to be. On Christmas Day, ironically, the holiday he claimed to hate the most, his body gave out from a massive gastric hemorrhage. The man who spent his life making others laugh was destroyed by what he tried hardest to laugh off. Number 1. To millions, Bernard Lee was simply M, the calm, commanding leader of the British Secret Service in 11 James Bond films. His voice, his presence, his authority, he was the rock behind 007. But behind that stoic image was a man crushed by personal tragedy and quietly destroyed by addiction. His decline didn't happen all at once. It was death by 1,000 cuts. First, he lost his wife in a house fire. Then came a violent mugging. Financial ruin followed, and through it all, he reached for the bottle like it was the only thing holding him together. His alcoholism grew so severe that while filming the Edgar Wallace series, producers had to lock him inside his dressing room during breaks just to stop him from sneaking away to drink. But even that wasn't enough. Lee reportedly paid someone to pass a straw through the keyhole so he could secretly sip from a hidden stash. His colleagues were stunned. Even Richard Burton, one of Hollywood's most notorious drinkers, admitted he couldn't keep up with Lee. In the end, it wasn't a car crash or public meltdown that brought him down. It was quiet, internal decay. At 73, Bernard Lee died of stomach cancer, most likely fueled by decades of heavy drinking. His face was a symbol of order on screen, but behind the curtain, his life was anything but. Fame has a way of blinding us. We see the premieres, the million-dollar contracts, the red carpets, but we rarely see the pain hiding just beneath the surface. These 10 stars weren't just victims of addiction. They were victims of an industry that often rewards self-destruction until it's too late. Some went out in a blaze, others faded slowly, but all of them remind us of the brutal cost of losing control when the world's watching. This wasn't about judgment. It's about remembering that even the biggest icons can break. And behind every scandalous headline or shocking downfall, there's a person who once dreamed just like the rest of us. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, know this: help is real, recovery is possible, and the story doesn't have to end like this.